So for organizing by Institution Innovation Council, Kongunadu Arts and Science College, Coimbatore. So in this regard, I am very happily welcome and thank to the Mr. Anand Bellan Raman, so the managing partner, Farmcraft Kunnur, and the co-founder for the Krishi Dandra, Hyderabad. So who is going to deliver his successful story for the best entrepreneur and startup, discussing with the faculty members and student friends. So in this regard, first I would like to invite Dr. H. Abdul Kabur, Assistant Professor of Botany, Kongunadu Arts and Science College, for welcoming the gatherings for this event. Sir, please.
Okay, sir. Sir, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. A very good afternoon, esteemed dignitaries. I am extremely honored to have the opportunity to address in this prestigious session. On behalf of Institutional Innovation Council, IIC, I would like to grab this chance to thank and welcome our respected President, Dr. M. Arichami, sir, a dynamic personality and truly an inspiration to all of us. It's my pleasure to welcome our most respected Secretary and Director, Dr. C. A. Vasky, Madam. Your hard work, courage, positivity, and persistence help us in setting our own expectation and accomplishing them. It's overwhelming to welcome our dearest principal, Dr. M. Lakshmaswamy, sir, who guides us and supports us in all the aspects. A cordial welcome to Dean R&D, Dr. S. Palsamy, sir, CEO, Dr. V. Chinnasamy, sir, Dean School of Computer Science, Dr. N. Nagarajan, sir, Associate Dean R&D, Dr. R. Sivaprakash, sir. I am very glad to welcome and thank the President of IIC, Dr. S.R. Madan Shankar, sir, and Convener of IIC, Dr. G. Dandamani, sir, for organizing this webinar session. Also, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the participants and faculty members. I am extremely happy to welcome our most inspiring, knowledgeable resource person, Mr. Anand Bellan Raman, sir, a successful entrepreneur, startup founder, managing partner, Farmcraft Kunur, co-founder, CEO, Krishi Dindra, Hyderabad. We are really thankful to you, sir, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to attend this session. An inspiration to many in the field of hydroponic farming and soilless cultivation. The presence of such a personality is truly a blessing. Now, I would like to pass on the session to Dr. R. Tirangana Samandam, sir, to introduce our chief guest. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Kabur. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Madan, sir?
Yes, sir.
Am I
Yes,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, very good afternoon to all. It's my great pleasure to introduce today's resource person, Mr. Anand Bellan Raman, Managing Partner, Farmcraft Kunnur, and co-founder and COO, Krishi Tantra, Hyderabad, Telangana. SAR is an expertise in customer relationship management, new business development, and enterprise software. And SAR is a person who certified with Thomas Profiler. SAR has completed his schooling from Breeks Memorial Anglo-Indian Higher Secondary School from Ooty and graduated in chemistry from Bhartiyar University. After graduation, Mr. Raman has served as technical team leader in First Computers for over 3 years. Since 2000 January, Mr. Raman acted as a regional head for STG International Limited till 2004. Subsequently, Mr. Anand Bellan Raman headed the business development of Carrier Plan nearly for 16 months. Further, worked as regional manager for company Red Hat India for more than 6 years and also served as a regional head of education solutions for Adobe Systems in India Private Limited for nearly 8 months. SAR has also served as a manager for education services for SAP India Limited for around 10 months. During this period, SAR had a responsibilities of establishing relationship with customers to support sales strategies and interaction with corporate and academy. From 2013 onwards, Mr. A.B. Raman concentrating on hydroponic farming and partnering with the Farmcraft company for trading tea, coffee, chocolates, etc. In addition, Mr. Anand Bellan Raman acting as a co-founder and COO of Krishi Tandra, Hyderabad, Telangana, India, a leading agri-tech startup in soil technology, farm data acquisition and analysis. So with his credit, Dr. Raman is acting as a today's resource person. So it's our fortunate to have Dr. Raman for sharing his experience with us. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll welcome Dr. S.R. Madan Sangal, sir, Dean Academics and President of Institution Innovation Council for the presidential address. Sir, please, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Am I
sir.
audible?
Please.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good afternoon to everybody. Dr. Kafoor, Dr. Dandapani, and my good friend, Dr. Anand Bellan. Warm good afternoon to all of you. I'm happy that this program is being organized under the banner of Institution Innovation Council. You all know that the Institution Innovation Council is an initiative of Ministry of Education for promoting entrepreneurship and innovation activities among the student community. So the purpose of organizing these programs, which are spelled over 4 quarters, is to see whether students can be sensitized, whether we can create an awareness among students, like interacting with successful entrepreneurs like Mr. Anand, giving them field visits, taking them to newer startups, giving them an idea of how to pitch an idea, how to go about with seeding the idea, generating a prototype, and also test marketing. So the council takes care of all these activities over a spanned period of time, which spells about in 4 quarters. Now, you all know seeding of idea or fertilization of an idea is very, very essential. I would just, for the viewers, I would just tell you, because this is going to be an interaction story. Most of us know about Hindustan Lever, which is called Unilever today, HLL, the Hindustan Lever Limited. And, one of their most marketed product is the Fair and Lovely cream, fairness cream. So I will tell you how this fairness cream, this idea actually came into a prototype, and then how it was marketed down the line. So getting fair is actually a very, very new concept. I mean, very sought after process in the Indian continent. It is not there in the Western continent. In the Western continent, you see people like to get tanned. So here it's just the reverse. So the idea started in 1958, where this small company called as the Hindustan Lever Company was formed in 1958 in a very, very small place in Mumbai, the earlier Bombay. Today it is called Mumbai. It was a very small place. And the person behind this is S. Varadarajan. This person, S. Varadarajan, he was able to bring top scientists, like-minded people, and people who are very, very sharp in innovation to work in a small company in the year 1958. So the idea of making a cream for fairness started there. And there was a person, a scientist in his group, who was called as Girish Mathur. This person, Girish Mathur, was the man behind making this fairness cream called Fair and Lovely. So this person, Girish Mathur, they started trying out new formulas, newer methods from literature, from the Indian texts, etc. And they were successful in making a product after, say, 20 years of time. So from 1958 to 1971 or 72, in 1972, they were able to make a product. But then the product was lying in the shelf for more than 6 years or 7 years until 1978 or so. Later on, in 1973, there was, 78, there was another person who is very, very famous person called T. Thomas from Kerala, who was able to join this battalion of people who are working with Hindustan Lever Limited. So this person, T. Thomas, he actually went in for testing the prototype or testing the product that was developed by Girish Mathur and his co-authors in Kerala. So in Kerala, people have dark complexion. So they went, started doing a test marketing, or they started doing a big market survey in Kerala. And today, this particular product, Fair and Lovely, is the sought after fairness cream in India. And that after Dove is actually the first product which is branded as the best for fairness cream. Next to that is Fair and Lovely today. So you must understand that an idea that was seeded, an idea that was fertilized in the mind of some people, started growing like an embryo. It started growing like a fetus. And then today, it's a fully grown adult having a big market, having a big survey. So the message that I want to convey to the students is that even if you have small ideas, even if you have stupid ideas, please make a note of it and start working on it, so that these stupid ideas may at some point of time may turn into a viable product. So with this, I congratulate the entire team of Indian Institution Innovation Council, which is headed by Dr. G. Dandapani, and a team of very, very efficient and very, very innovative faculty members for organizing this particular session on this nice cloudy afternoon. And I'm sure that Mr. Anand Bellan will be the right person to share his entrepreneurial venture, because I know that he has really traveled a long way from his core domain and has established himself as a successful entrepreneur. I request all the students to please interact with him and make use of this session. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and hope to hear from you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful presental address. So now I would like invite Dr. Anand Bellan, sir, for we are telling the success story to our faculty members and students. Sir, please, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Dandapani. Thank you, Dr. Madan, for this opportunity. Only thing is that, I want to correct a few things. One, I'm not a doctor. I wish that, I was one, but it definitely requires, a lot of, efforts, and which I think that, I've put it during my academics time. So please don't address me as doctor. The second thing is that, yes, and I really like the this Innovation Council's the topic in terms of my story. So there is an opportunity, because most of the times everywhere we want an opportunity to talk about ourselves. But only thing is that the other person sitting on the opposite end doesn't always want to listen to the story. But here, there is an opportunity given today where, I think I can, go full out and share my experiences with you. And so I just wanted to make this entire thing, more in terms of a journey of my life, so that it's like, I wish that I was actually, in the place of the students, sitting out here. Because if the same kind of an opportunity was available during our period, especially, in the 90s when we were in the college, I'm pretty sure that, great opportunities, could have come our way. But of course, there is a time for everything. And the way, how this technology has developed, the kind of interventions, of cell phones, interventions, of social media, and then has this new aspect of startups, which is coming across, where the entire dynamics, of career has changed. So here, when we are talking about something, any activity, we know that, success, is the ultimate thing that we run after. And it's a very abstract word. It's very difficult, to say that, okay, this is exactly success, because success ultimately, depends upon the situation, depends upon the mission that you're driving at, depends upon the objective that you're going to be behind. So in your school days, you would have seen that, success was saying that, okay, fine, let me score the highest marks, in the class. Or it could be saying that I want to be the most successful athlete. Or I mean, I could also say that, I mean, I could have been the best orator in the school. So here, I mean, if you look into it, there are different aspects, different objectives, I mean, what the same student is trying to pursue, and they call that one a success. Second thing is that, I mean, once you're done with your school and then you moved on, I mean, into your college, I mean, then, I mean, for you finishing the graduation and finding a hold in your life through a placement or a good job in a good company, I mean, could be a measurement of success. And once, I mean, you're there and I mean, in a job, I mean, achieving your targets, or maybe after that, I mean, looking forward for promotions, I mean, or growing up in your career. So there are going to be multiple things, I mean, that can happen on those lines. But no matter, I mean, when you talk about success, if you see that there are two important components to it. One, what we talk about as a mission, there is an objective behind which, I mean, you are trying to run. And the second thing is that measurement, okay? So how far have I come in this particular journey? Or how far I'm close to what I actually dreamt about? And this particular things, again, is going to be, quite subjective. And so it can depend from person to person. So when Dr. Thiru Yanasam Pandian was actually, introducing me, so he took me, through my earlier days, where we started off with this particular career, where 16 years I spent my career, in IT. And I come from a background of chemistry. So you could actually, kind of relate it. So during our days, it was more in terms of, trying to, get on hold over your life, with whatever, was new in the market, or whatever, wherever there was an opportunity in the market. And because, the jobs during those days, in terms of, let us say, people coming from a science background, either, graduating on, after that, you need to pursue, certain things, more from the aspect of, let's say, a stream, as, let's say, being a scientist or being a professor in a college, or, trying to, get into organizations, that has requirements, of graduates in science. And those opportunities were not very high. And there was a long way, people had to go for that. I'm pretty sure that, many of the professors here who have actually graduated during my days, have known through what the situation and how they would have gone about it. So those days, this IT, was kind of kicking in, and that was an opportunity. And so we said that, okay, fine, kind of try it out. And IT also was quite open because they wanted more skilled people. And, by the time that, we were almost, kind of early entrants, into this particular field, but of course, not technically. So we kind of, chose, an appropriate opportunity there, where the management side was quite open, to this one, where I could get a fantastic opportunity. But that was a lot of half and puff, through this entire journey, of starting off from an organization like First Computers to ending up in a world's largest, software company, SAP, and getting an opportunity to work with the world's biggest open source company, Red Hat, and was like dream come true, for me those days. But at some point of this particular career, once, you are successful and you know that, you're doing extremely well, you know that, the success is not measured by the aspect of money or promotions. This is something that you will understand, when you have achieved, your midlife. So maybe, during your mid-30s. So this kind of an aspect will start kicking into many of the people. Because until such time, it is going to be saying that, okay, fine, let's get this particular targets done, let's get our promotions, let's grow in the company, let's become big in the company, let me hold bigger positions, what this particular company can offer. At some point of time, there is a different kind of a pressure. The pressure is not from saying that, okay, fine, can you achieve this particular targets? But the pressure comes from, the business by the back of your hand. And there's a lot of time available to you. And you start thinking that, am I doing what is right? Am I bringing some kind of an impact, into the system? Now, how do I differentiate myself, from others? So there could be lots of these thoughts that's coming up. And I'm pretty sure that 99% of my colleagues, have been through this one. But only thing is that the question arises as to, will I be able to step out of this particular comfort zone to pursue that? So you have commitments, because when you are in your mid-30s in your career, then you have a wife, you have a child, you have a family, you have EMIs. And then you know that, okay, fine, I need to earn a certain amount of money to keep this afloat. I need to provide protection to this particular family. I should ensure that I don't default on any of my loans. And so that aspect, becomes necessary. And you also have to create, a safety, for the family. So you say that, okay, fine, I will want to earn a little more safeguard. And this aspect of the insecurity is there any given moment of time. Whether you are earning 10,000 rupees, this insecurity will remain. Whether you're earning 1 lakh rupees, this insecurity will remain. Or even if you're earning 1 crore rupees, this insecurity will remain. And that's part and parcel of our life. Because what we call this one as an hedonic threshold, when you go up to a certain standard, no matter what, we will try to maintain standards. So here, when you're talking about taking that particular to something new, so that one, is a time of a transition, and it requires a lot of guts. More than guts, you will say that, it would require a lot of support, especially from your family. And so when after my stint, if you see that, after my, stint with Red Hat, I actually, wanted to immediately take a plunge, but still wanted to, kind of give it some time. So I was still not very confident. So it's thought that, okay, fine, maybe a change of job, could give me, a little bit of motivation, kind of a different kind of an experience. And still, once, this aspect of the, entrepreneurial thing kicks into your mind, it's very difficult to get it out. So it keeps, tickling you throughout. So it says that, okay, fine. So what is the next opportunity? When you can start this one, how you can take this one forward. So I actually, jumped 2 jobs, after that, and both the jobs, were fabulous jobs. But only thing is that I actually, it was like I took the 2 jumps because still I was not very confident in terms of, taking up that particular jump. Saying that, okay, let me go ahead, take the jump, do it. No, I decided that I take a step forward, then there is a fear, then you actually take a step back. Okay, fine, for that particular time being, you want a different kind of a motivation, you take a change in your job, but that was not working out. And then it started my journey, into the entrepreneurial field. I got into something called hydroponics, and till then, I have not even done gardening. And I was actually wanting to do something, about, which is more impactful. So we were trying to, look around, things around poultry first, and then we spoke to close to around 40-50 farms, and we found a lot of challenges there. And we said that livestock was something very complicated to address. So let's address something in terms of agriculture. So in agriculture, even though you wanted to kind of do something impactful, still you want to see that, there is something like, is there a revenue generating opportunity out of it? So because success is again measured, in terms of money, because money is a unit of measurement for success. So when we were looking into this particular crops, which would give you the highest returns, then we stumbled upon strawberries. Until then, I've never even tasted a strawberry in my life. And once, I moved into this aspect of strawberries, we started doing a lot of research on the internet. And by accident, we came upon what is called as hydroponics. And hydroponics, during that particular stage, was extremely, a new thing. There was absolutely no consultants. There were nobody, who was doing hydroponics in a very successful manner. Everything, was abroad. And there were not much of help, that you could get from them, because even there, it was in terms of, very nascent stages. So still we said that, fine, let us take a plunge. And we went ahead based on the knowledge that we gained from the internet and some amount of literature, that was there. We started off this particular hydroponics farm. So the first year, so we actually, had no clue in terms of, the variety of the plants. So we tried every way. And finally, we were able to, kind of get hold of what was called as the good quality tissue culture plants, and where we started doing our maths on the Excel. And then we kind of designed the entire farm and we took it. The first year, the biggest challenge, that was happened was that the plants that we actually, bought in, was not suitable for hydroponics. And within 1 month's period, we lost 21,000 plants. So that was the first setback for us. Now, the question is that still, let's go ahead and try it out. So we kind of, had created a low-cost infrastructure. Then we went ahead and bought, the next set of cultivars, and we planted them, and it was fine. It was kind of, working out, but it was domestically sourced. And then the entire thing was built on that cost effectiveness. So we wanted to build a cost effective system. And so we used, what is called as, these, the wooden sticks, which was holding close to around, 1 ton, of weight in a row. And each bag was like 30 kgs. And in a row, we used to have 30 bags, that was actually, placed next to each other. And the sticks used to provide them the required support. And everything was going on for the first 3 months, where the fruiting was supposed to start. And the one of the stick in the top broke, and it pulled the entire weight on the rest of the rows. And in 5 minutes, we lost another 21,000 plants, which we had replanted. And the first year, we were actually left with 1,000 plants to experiment with. We said, fine, let's go ahead. So it was a loss, during the first year. The second year, what happened is that we changed the entire infrastructure. We made it, more robust. We bought in PVC pipes, and we kind of, set up a more robust structure, which was more foolproof, and it was not breaking. But unfortunately, in the plants, that were coming out, was only giving us half the yield, and not exactly as to the yield what was predicted or was benchmarked. Because strawberry is normally supposed to give 1 to 1.2 kgs per plant, but we were not able to hit anything more than 400 to 500 grams. So this one, continued, and then the second year, third year, when we actually, went ahead, we actually, started understanding a little more about the variety of plants, the cultivars. So we wanted to bring in, more hardened plants, so we had to import them. And there is where, we found out that when we imported these particular plants, so these plants were more virile, than the domestic varieties. And we found out that, in our PVC pipes, when we are going to make, small holes, this strawberries basically have the habit of multiplying crowns. So they did not have enough space to multiply, and that's the reason why that particular yield was dropping. But the third year, we faced with such a huge, pest issue, especially, with sucking pests, like mealybugs and, aphids and spider mites. And we actually, had to find out a way to curtail that. And unfortunately, strawberries, being, very sensitive plants, you know that, if you're going to spray, any kind of, pesticide over that, now that is not going to, solve the purpose, because you cannot sell them in the market. Even though there are many of the things that comes out, with spray bots, but you know that, the impact of those residues there. And these soft fruits basically, has to be handled very, very carefully. So when we actually, tried looking out for alternatives, we found out that everybody were, suggesting, in terms of, use kind of chemical pesticides, and don't, harvest, for 14 days. But every alternative day, the fruits will ripen. So which means to say that we will have to waste it. So we actually started, doing a little more research, and then we found out that, this particular sucking pests were not moving from plant to plant, but there was something else that was carrying the eggs from plant to plant, and that were the ants. So we found out that if you can control this particular ants, then, you will be able to control this particular pest. So the third year, we actually did this one, and we were pretty successful in controlling this particular pest. And fourth year is when, we actually, went about, and we were able to kind of, consult, with a few mentors abroad from Belgium, who actually gave us, the exact knowledge base in terms of the hydroponics as to where exactly we were going wrong and how we could actually correct this particular bit, where we completely corrected this particular entire system, and we became extremely successful from the fourth year. But 4 years, we actually, failed losses. Now, the reason why I am telling you this particular part of is that you can look into this experience, as in two ways. One way you can say that, okay, fine, it's failure of 4 years. The other way you can look into it is that it is progress of 4 years. Because me and my wife, when we were doing this, we chose to look this one as progress, because every year that particular experience, that gave us out there, we were learning a lot. a lot more than, what the internet could give us. And this could not be possible. Today, when somebody comes to us for consulting, in terms of the hydroponics, we actually, first give them the darker side of hydroponics. And then after that, we show them the brighter side. And then we show them what is the gray side, in which they will be actually working. So this is what, we talk about how experience, can help us. But this is an important lesson, in the startup journey, because the startup journey, requires what is called as a perseverance. Now, the continuation of this particular part, when we were working on this hydroponics aspect of it, so we wanted to bring in, we automated many of the aspects, but we still wanted to develop, a lot of things internally. So we started developing IoT all by ourselves. So here, a very important thing that you guys will have to consider, irrespective of the stream of subject that you are coming from. If you actually, have the intention to learn something and build something from any other stream, it's possible. It is not that a science guy cannot do engineering or an engineering cannot do accounting. So it's all a question about your attitude towards that particular subject. If you are able to, learn science today, then you are obviously capable of learning engineering also. If you're able to learn engineering, you're also capable of learning accounting also. So it is not that, okay, fine, this particular person is only good with this particular part. It's a question of how much, it is required, for you. Or you, for example, if you have a problem at hand and if you want to solve that particular problem and you feel that, okay, this has to be learned in order to solve the problem, I'm pretty sure that, you will be able to put in your heart and soul into it and you will find that aspect extremely interesting. And that is exactly what happens. I was not from an agricultural background. I was not from a botany background. I was not, from an entomology background. But here there was a problem at hand. And when you have a problem at hand, you know that, how exactly, you can pull out this particular required information. And when you start seeking information, one leads to the other. And when one leads to the other, automatically your knowledge base increases on that. So from this aspect of botany and agriculture, we actually started developing the IoT devices on our own. So we wanted to have an automated system for checking, because in hydroponics, you had to check the pH and AC on an everyday basis. So we wanted to bring in this aspect of automating this particular pH and AC. So we built a device, our own device, with whatever available products that is available in the market. And then it became successful. Now, the third important challenge that was happening was the carbon dioxide. And we were not able to get the appropriate sensors, for this particular carbon dioxide. So that is exactly when, I was searching for this information, and I had a friend at Intel whom I contacted, and he connected me to another division. And while I was talking to this person connected me to another company which was developing this. And that is when, I met the founder, of Krishi Tantra, Sandeep, where we found out that there was a lot of synergies between us. And then I joined Krishi Tantra as a co-founder. So another aspect of this part is whenever you're seeking something and when you're ready, just like how they say, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. So when you are ready, automatically, there is going to be the opportunity that shows up. So my intention was in terms of, finding a solution for the IoT, but it led down, to another interesting introduction, which also took a different course in my life. Today where we built Krishi Tantra, which is an organization funded by Omnivore and Lab Ventures by $1 million as a seed funding. And we are today a successful agri-tech startup. But this particular introduction could not have happened. If you're just going to wait and if you're going to see that, okay, fine, let's see that, there could be some solution and I'll wait, for this particular solution to come down. You have to go outright. You need to, kind of interact with people. You need to network with various kind of people. So one thing will lead to the other. And that is exactly where, you will come across the right opportunities and you capitalize on these opportunities. So when actually, when I met, Sandeep, and when we were discussing, Sandeep was actually working on certain problems related to soil. And that is when, we thought that, okay, fine, because soil was a much more bigger area, to address right at the moment. Because today, if you see that across the globe, we have lost 33% of arable land. And this 33% of arable land, in the sense, it is going to create a food shortage because our population is increasing. We will be, hitting something close to 9 billion population in a short while. But here, we are losing land that is producing food. So there was a bigger problem that has to be addressed. So here, what we did is that we started putting our entire ideas, into developing this particular technology, where we said that farmers are not doing soil testing. Why? Because all the labs are there in the cities. And it requires a lot of money to create infrastructure. So we need to create, portable solutions where people will be able to do this particular soil testing, whereas there is an instantaneous result, and that particular result, should be available to this particular farmer instantaneously, so that the farmer is able to take a decision as soon as he's got this particular soil test. And that is when, we built across, this particular interesting product called as, Krishi Rasta. So when we initially built it, it took us 2 years of R&D. So 2017, when we were working on this one, we came with various iterations, and we carried this particular systems, to various, bodies, for their validation, for support. We spoke to scientists, we spoke to, people in the industry. So here, when we were actually talking about this particular system that we built, the system was close to around 3.5 feet in height and 1.5 feet, in width. And it was quite a cumbersome process. But still, it was the available portable solution at that particular time. So when we took this across, then there were feedback saying that the system is big. Can we make it smaller? The system needs to be carried. So this was feedbacks, that we get. Then we actually, kind of started working on the design, and then we brought down the system to 1 cubic feet in size, but able to carry out the same functions. And when we took it back to the market, then the market again gave us a feedback saying that, look, here, these are the parameters, which we're doing, but we want additionally these parameters. So if you're doing, something in terms of macronutrients, they said that we wanted macronutrients. You built macronutrients, they said that we need soil organic carbon. So we built soil organic carbon. So each and every time, when we looked into it out there, there were going to be, progress, that used to happen, where there was a feedback, that was coming. So in a startup environment, normally what happens is that when you look from, reading the success story, of the cases, of any of the startups, it will be very, very inspiring. Each and every success story of a startup is an inspiring story. But if you look into the background as to what they have actually gone through this particular part, you would see that, there are 3 things they would have done. One is that they would have assumed something. And second thing is that they would have done a survey. And third is that they would have built a strategy. Because here what happens is that most of the times, when we build something, an idea is there. So we are trying to address a certain problem. And when we want to address a particular problem, so we assume certain factors and we build that particular part. And we think that, it is going to address this particular issue. But unless and until, you conduct a survey, with the actual audience, on ground reality, and that is when, you will know that, what are the shortcomings, of that particular assumption, that you have made. And only then you actually can strategize and then, make further changes. So every aspect, of this particular startups, if you look into it out there, has a journey on this. For example, Zoom. Zoom today, is a very successful, platform, a chatting platform, where, people, kind of use that one. But when Zoom came into the market, you know that, how difficult things were, for them, because they were posing so many challenges. But they continued to improve on this particular part of it. So today, when we are talking about a startup environment, nothing is perfect. So here, which means to say that, as Madan sir was telling, however small or big, the idea cannot be said it's small, or an idea cannot be said it's big. The idea, is dependent upon, what it is trying to achieve. The reason why, I'm very jealous about, the kind of, generation that you are in is because in our generations, we could not get this kind of an exposure where, the kind of, impact, that we could have bought at this particular time. If we had this kind of an infrastructure, is something that kinds of makes me jealous, when I look into your generation. But in your generation, look into what, it is not going to be, in terms of the entire economic models have changed. Today, we are working on what is called as a shared economy. You don't own anything, but you are able to run this particular business. You take Uber or Ola, for instance. And they are a technology company, they are not a taxi company. If you look into, any of these particular businesses like Airbnb or Oyo rooms, they don't own any kind of hotels, but they are into the hotel business. So this is basically how this dynamics of this particular environment right now is. But here what happens is that the more the population is increasing, the more there are challenges that they are facing. We are talking about healthcare, we are talking about agriculture. All these things are suddenly gaining a lot of prominence. 10 years back, when we were actually trying to work around raising investments for agri-tech or agriculture, many of these particular investors didn't even kind of wanted to lend their ears to us, because unless and until the startup, it was something like technology. You have something like a technology behind it. So if I say that, okay, for hydroponics is also a kind of a technology, so can you help us out? Nobody was willing to listen to that. So we had to bootstrap, we had to take loans from banks, we had to pledge the jewels at home. But when I'm talking about something, in terms of today's environment, you see that, the same investors, are flocking to see that, okay, fine, there are hydroponic farms, greenhouses, models for production that are actually getting funded, in a big way. Because this is how the opportunities are going to open up. And that is exactly where, things will keep improving on that. So agri-tech all of a sudden gained so much of prominence today. But here again, when you're talking about the most important word when it comes down to startup is that, what is the impact that you're trying to bring on the field? Because that impact is going to be the motivational factor. I told you that when we were in a career, you're top of your career, where you're earning, let us say, enough money that you don't have to really bother about, changing your jobs. But at some point of time, that motivation is it does not make any sense anymore. Money is not the one that is going to drive you at that particular time. It is that mission, that will drive you. The mission that, okay, what are you trying to achieve, or what is the difference that you're able to make to this particular world? And that is exactly where we could see that, once that gets into your mind, or once that sparkle is there in your mind, somewhere or the other, it happens. But always remember, there is no time frame. So it's not that, okay, fine, when should I have a startup? Should I have to gain experience from a career and after that started, or can I start it soon after college? Could be anything. Because here, when you're talking about in terms of, let us say, there is no specific guidelines for this. There are no hard and fast rules for that. You have an idea, you can take it forward. But what will happen is that now you have an idea, you have built a product, and the product, you see that there is a definite demand in the market, and you want to sell this particular product. Now you need to create an organization for yourself. You will have to hire people. You will have to, look into the compliance. You will have to work on finance and accounts. You need to, have somebody, managing your people. You need to have somebody managing your finance, somebody managing, your production. And you need to be having somebody managing your sales. And everything will require process. And this will require experience. So here what happens is that whenever you're talking about something, everything cannot be done by the same person. But here what happens is that you need to also build this particular ability where you start taking the support of mentors. This is extremely important, because here it is not about whether you're 20 years old or whether you're 40 years old. Because even in my, in my thing, after almost close to around 2 decades of experience, still we go ahead and seek the experience of our mentors, because we know that not everything we have gained during this particular career. There are so many dynamics that changes, and we need support from these mentors who guide us, because they have that particular specialization there. So it's no harm in asking this particular people, no harm in meeting more people, because every person that you meet is a knowledge base for something or the other. And if you feel that, yes, it's going to suit your business, it's going to suit your the mission that you're driving to, then you should engage more with this particular people. You cannot kind of demean anybody saying that, oh, that person is stupid, and or this particular person is intelligent. It is not like that. A person, I mean, who's in accounting might be stupid with engineering, but I mean, he's good with his accounting part of it. So each one, I mean, has a certain skill, and we only have to see that how best, I mean, we can make this. And most important is that whenever you're talking about getting into something like a startup, at maybe soon after college or maybe after your thing out there, a very important support will have to come from your family, because your family has to know that, I mean, what exactly you're doing, because you are dependent on your family as much as the family depends upon you. If they provide you the particular required support, you can still go ahead and fail happily. And that failure is never a failure. And the beauty today is that if you look into, I mean, the HR policies of companies have slowly started changing. Even for placements, they ask students saying that, have you tried something like a startup? Or there is some of the companies who have started putting across, I mean, qualifications saying that a startup experience preferred, because every organization today is looking into a person joining them not just as an employee who will execute a set of tasks, but I mean, who's able to own that particular business and build that particular business. They want that particular person to be responsible, and that responsibility ideally comes across only, I mean, from this aspect, I mean, of your thing, what you do, whether it is a small project that you're able to, I mean, build, I mean, in your college, or a project, I mean, that you're going to, I mean, kind of build it, I mean, for the market, no matter what it is going to be. But this is basically, I mean, how the entire life progresses, I mean, on this particular. So today, I mean, when we are talking about something in terms of an agri-tech out there, we have been able to bring across this particular beautiful concept, I mean, of soil analysis, where soil analysis, I mean, was the only part, I mean, which was everybody were talking about. But today, I mean, we have got deep down into it, and what is called as microbial testing. Not one single option is available in India today for microbial testing, except, I mean, with laboratories, which takes, I mean, close to a week's to a month's time to do microbial analysis. And here, I mean, when we get deep into technology, you obviously get in connects with several, industry veterans, and you gain ideas. You convert that particular idea into a product. And today, we have been able to bring a microbial testing on field, which can be done in 20 minutes on field without the use of any device, just with a computer app. And this will be a game changer, where, I mean, the farmer is actually going to know that what is the microbial content in the soil, I mean, before even deciding upon what is the kind of, I mean, whether I should apply fertilizers or should I have to go the organic way. But what is the microbial content? Unless and until you know the bacterial fungal ratio, the microbial carbon, it is very difficult for somebody to assess, I mean, how much of fertilizers to be applied for. It talks about soil health. Are you healthy? It's like that. You ask the soil, is the soil healthy? No system is there today to talk about soil health. And for the first time, I mean, we have brought that one into India. So here, I mean, it's a very proud moment. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because just in 2017, I mean, we were struggling to build, I mean, a prototype, I mean, which was handy enough to go down, I mean, into the market. But in less than 3 years, I mean, we have a product that is there. We are able to say that, okay, fine, what you're talking about handy, I'm talking about carrying this particular microbial test on your phone. That is all what is required, I mean, for you today. And this is basically, I mean, how this particular progress will happen. And this will happen because this is like, it's not just one man's activity. It is not the, okay, fine, this particular startup, I mean, has, I mean, or the co-founders are, have the required knowledge to build this one. No, frankly speaking, out there, we take the help, I mean, of so many mentors, so many scientists across the globe. And then after that, I mean, we kind of, I mean, bring that particular product, I mean, as a reality. And we kind of, I mean, take it to this particular market. And during this particular course of time, you should see that, I mean, we engage with so many other startups out there, I mean, for our services, where those startups are also, I mean, kind of, I mean, getting benefited. And that's the reason, I mean, why I was telling you here, there is going to be a lot of, I mean, things happening in terms of shared economy. Second thing is that the dependency, that aspect, I mean, of the work to be done, there are so many opportunities that keeps coming up. So in your generation, frankly speaking, out there, at some point of time, I will be seeing that most of the students, would actually, prefer to work with startups because they want to gain that. They learn a lot more, in startups. And after that, they would like to, build their own enterprises, and also, offer services to the companies itself, who they had been hired by. And that's the beauty, about this particular, the time that you are in. So when you're talking about something in terms of a startup journey, of course, is going to be difficult. First and foremost, you need to have the courage, in order to step into it. And so there, it should not be something like a blind, risk, but it should be more in terms of a calculative risk. That should know that. You should know that, okay, with the support of the family, with the kind of commitments that you have, you need to take a certain decision out there, which does not hamper, your decision or your lifestyle. Second thing is that once you have taken this particular part of it out there, you will have to persevere in that particular field. You need to stick to that particular part. Don't consider the hurdles and the failures that you're meeting as failures. It is basically, progress. At some point of time out there, the pace will pick up out there, and you yourself will wonder, how did I come from there till here? And that is exactly when I was telling you out there, when you are, the student is ready, the teacher shows up. The opportunity will open up, you will get in contact with much more people, and you would know that, how you can actually progress from that, and more support, will come from, the industry, the ecosystem, in which you're working. So this is a very, very simple story, of my life, as to from where we started and where we ended, and what were the emotions that I've gone through. And I'm open to you guys asking me any questions. I can be able to happily answer that. Dadapani, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So you shared your nice success story with us. So now the session is open for the students as well faculty members for discussion. Students, please feel free to discuss.
There is no question small, no question stupid. So you can please go ahead and ask anything. Because unless and until you ask questions, you will never find answers.
So I think students, please feel free to ask any questions. Yes, like don't feel like this kind of silly questions what he said. Okay, any doubts in your mind, so please feel free. Madan sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
It was very nice. It was a nice presentation, Mr. Anand. Students, please unmute and ask. These sessions are arranged exclusively for you to interact. Just by keeping your mouth shut is not going to help you anyway. Even if your questions are silly, even if your questions are stupid, please ask. You can ask him anything.
Even especially for the life science students. So you can interact more about vertical farming, this kind of soil analysis.
You can ask me questions related to any of this particular field, or you can ask me even outside that. Perfectly all right. I can help you.
So regarding that vertical farming, I have a question. So regarding vertical farming, like what are the like crops now at present you are producing, like exporting? For example, like
vertical farming, you can actually produce any kind of a crop. Whether it is going to be strawberries, or even if it's going to be paddy, you can still do that one. The question is that, I mean, whenever, I mean, we are going to do a vertical farming, we need to understand that whether that investment, I mean, justifies the returns. That is very, very critical for us, because this vertical farming is a high capex unit, I mean, as of now, because in India, we still do not have much of subsidies that is provided by the government, I mean, for setting up hydroponic farms and things like that. And moreover, I mean, this kind of setups out there requires a lot of automation. And these automation also do not come under the purview of, I mean, any of these particular activities. So these are all, I mean, kind of, I mean, adds a lot towards the capital expenditure. And that's the reason, I mean, why even today you see that there's a lot of these venture capitalists who are supporting vertical farming, who are supporting hydroponics growing. So like Omnivore, if you see that, I mean, they have been supporting this clover farms, and you know, if you've heard about this triangle farms, I mean, which is doing extremely well, I mean, are all, I mean, organizations that has got funded and expanding, I mean, their presence, like 150 acres, 200 acres, I mean, of farming, I mean, what they're actually doing in hydroponics. That is huge. From the time in 2013 when I actually started off to what we have seen right at this particular juncture, I mean, the amount of developments, I mean, that has happened in this particular area is tremendous. But still, I mean, if you look into it in vertical farming, I mean, most of these particular people still want to kind of maximize their profits, because to manage their operations. So they stick to this high value crops. Predominantly, it is going to be color capsicum, or going to be, I mean, in terms of, I mean, things like, I mean, strawberries is very less tasty, but more in terms of the capsicums, cucumbers, you know, gherkins, and tomatoes. It's a different breed of tomato, but we call it as this color, you know, the for sorry, salads, beef tomatoes, and exotic crops, which, I mean, have and kind of things like more in terms of your leafy items like your lettuce and things like that. I mean, still what, I mean, most of this particular hydro farming farm, they do that. Also, I mean, on another category, I mean, if you look into it, towards the animal husbandry part of it, also hydroponics is catching up in terms of growing fodder. So fodder, I mean, is becoming a very, very critical aspect of it. So here, which they're going in terms of hydroponic part of it, can be consumed completely. And they can also kind of ensure that, I mean, they're able to add appropriate nutrition, because now everything is getting interconnected. The milk of this particular cow, I mean, which is coming out there are people who are selling the milk based on the nutritional content, I mean, in this particular milk. And to get that particular nutritional content, I mean, what they are trying to do is that they are actually trying to, I mean, get what is called as this particular the fodder which goes into it, I mean, has the appropriate nutrition, so that the particular output from the cow is also, I mean, is able to contain that particular required nutrients. So these are the areas, I mean, which, I mean, it is there as of now. So these are the high value crops, predominantly what people are doing. And it will still take some time, I mean, to get into mainstream, because, you know, instead of doing leafy lettuce, because we are not actually salad people, and instead of doing leafy lettuce, what we normally advise people to do is to do Indian greens. So Indian greens also take the same amount of time, and their quick output, I mean, is there. But ultimately, what happens is the Indian greens, I mean, do not fetch the same kind of price as that of this particular lettuce-related items. But I mean, it is a larger market, I mean, part of it. So this aspect, I mean, slowly, I think, will kind of change depending on whether you want to grow a residue-free kind of an environment, or, I mean, whether you want to go in for something in terms of, let us say, a pesticide-free product, high nutrition, I mean, kind of a product. Because nutrition-wise, I think everything is the same, whether organic, inorganic, or hydroponics. Nutrition-wise, I don't see much of a difference in terms of that. But when it comes down to the aspect of residue-free, yes, I mean, there is a better control, I mean, of this particular.
Okay, thank you, sir. And so you have analyzed like your hydroponics and normal crops, like compared with any this kind of any like kind of, you all told that pesticide is very less as compared to open field.
Yes, I mean, we had done this particular comparison. We have done this one with DFRL, Mysore, and where we actually, I mean, had the products from our farms, I mean, the products, I mean, from the market grown in an inorganic, I mean, manner out there compared, and where they were able to provide a report on the analysis also saying that, I mean, how much, I mean, of this one is lesser than the inorganically or, you know, the normally traditionally grown crops. So we have the particular analysis.
Okay, thank you, sir. So
we have a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Mr. Rajkumar has asked, sir, may I know what is the mobile application used for finding the biological properties of soil?
So the mobile app, I mean, for using the biological properties of the soil out there, I mean, it's an inbuilt, I mean, product. I mean, what we have got it. That is kind of, if you're asking this app, I mean, is is built by our company, and we cannot obviously, I mean, reveal the exact mechanism, I mean, behind that particular part of it. But just to give you a brief in terms of how this particular NDA microbiological activity, I mean, works out there. So we actually take the soil sample, I mean, which is mixed with a reagent, and where we allow it to settle for some time, I mean, after whisking. So, the microbial content, I mean, is extracted, I mean, through that particular reagent. And that is what I mean is this basically works on a colorimetry kind of a concept. If that is a concept, I mean, if you want to understand, because we have a small card. So once, I mean, this extracted solution, I mean, is taken and you put it on that particular card, there is a color change that will happen in that. And that color change, I mean, is captured, I mean, by the app. But this particular app, I mean, if you look into it, has a lot of baseline data, because this is something, I mean, where years of research has gone into it in terms of building that particular baseline data. So this particular color change, I mean, is captured, I mean, by the camera, and that one, I mean, gets compared with the information which is there, I mean, on our cloud, and then it gives out, I mean, the actual analysis of that. So that is the technology, I mean, behind it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I think there are no other questions, sir. And so I have one general thing. So, what your advice or suggestion for our life science, especially those are botany, zoology, biotechnology, they want to start up in the area of like vertical farming, especially hydroponics or kind of agricultural related things. So, what is your advice?
Basically, life science students, I mean, if I look into it out there, this is the time, I would say that. Because here, see, during, I mean, the mid-90s and or early 2000, I mean, we saw that, I mean, there was a huge requirement, I mean, for engineers. And now here, I mean, this was predominantly driven by the requirement, I mean, for the software companies. Now, today, I mean, it's actually, I mean, gone to that extent that there were too many, I mean, of this particular, I mean, colleges that opened up, I mean, offering, I mean, engineering and even today, I mean, if you look into it, I mean, out of 2 lakh seats that might be available, only 50% of them, I mean, get filled. And after that, I mean, even those students, I mean, are coming out of this particular institutions out there today, I mean, there is not going to be much of a scope that we see, I mean, in terms of their opportunities that is there in the market. But when this aspect of science, I mean, where when talking about, especially, I mean, towards the life sciences, the opportunity is huge, because we are finding it extremely difficult to get very sound, students with extremely sound knowledge, I mean, on the science background. Because if you're talking about something like an agri-tech, or if you're talking about something like in healthcare, or I mean, if you're talking about, yeah, these are the 2 segments, I mean, that comes to my mind right at the moment. I mean, we actually, I mean, have a huge requirement, I mean, for this particular people with specialization in this area. So for us, I mean, to get the right soil scientists or agronomists, or I mean, people, I mean, with this, with especially with the number of modern agriculture that is coming in, things related to your plant, because an agronomist is able to tell that, okay, fine, I mean, you apply a certain amount of fertilizers, and or you talk about something as kind of an interactive, I mean, integrated pest management kind of a thing. But when it comes down to the actual, I mean, aspects, I mean, of this particular growing, we require botanists there, and we definitely, I mean, require, when it comes down to this entomology and things like that, we require fantastic opportunities that are there, I mean, in terms of curtailing this aspects, I mean, with innovative, I mean, products. But for which, I mean, this area, I mean, of the life sciences is going to be considered extremely important, but you will obviously have to build your specialization. I mean, that becomes very important. So an undergraduation, in my opinion, is not just the answer. You definitely, I mean, have to, I mean, do your post-graduation on this particular part of it, because the requirements will increase tremendously. And second thing is that, I mean, if you're talking about once you specialize on this particular areas, I mean, for them, I mean, to find out opportunities in that particular field is very, very high. So we are talking about, I mean, in terms of today, biological control. I mean, for example, if I'm just talking about my own field. So what we are trying to do is that, see, the farmers don't even know what they're applying. So apart from, I mean, urea, and apart from, I mean, let's say DAP and MOP part of it out there, they have absolutely no clue in terms of what are the ways by which I can improve, I mean, this particular system. So you're talking about, I mean, innovative ways by which, I mean, even if you think like, okay, zero by farming, no clue. We don't have input from anywhere. No specialization is available on that one. If they're talking about something in terms of organic farming out there also, I mean, everything is hunky-dory. I mean, so it means to say that, I mean, half-baked information is passing across everywhere. And that's the reason, I mean, why this organic farming is also still yet to kind of catch up. Biocontrol, I mean, of this particular pest, or any of those particular areas, if you look into what out there, there are immense opportunities that is available. I'm not just talking about you innovating a product, but you even building a service around that. So that is extremely important. Today, I mean, if you're talking about, I mean, if you're talking about something in area of soil testing alone, if I have to look into it, you'll see that, I mean, we actually, I mean, have a huge challenge, because the government soil testing labs that is there is only 3,887, and we are talking about a 54 crore population, and which means to say that 1.5 lakh farmers will have to access one lab, which is definitely not a possibility. We need to create, I mean, centers, I mean, across. We need to have this particular reach across. Now, what we are doing is that bringing this microbial testing as a very, very important component, I mean, of this part, and create an awareness campaign to them. We are, in fact, engaging, I mean, with universities, where we're saying that we need hundreds of students for this activity. I'm not sure, I mean, if your institute would be interested. If it is interested, then definitely, I mean, for Tamil Nadu, I can definitely, I mean, use these people, I mean, to actually, I mean, go down to the field out there to create this particular awareness among this particular farmers, and also to do this particular microbial testing. And this one happens on a paid basis. So this is not it's a paid internship, I mean, what we're trying to do. And we are reaching out, I mean, every possible, I mean, agricultural university, I mean, trying to get the support, I mean, of this particular students there. So when they actually, I mean, are kind of, I mean, coming, the whole idea behind this is that this one gives a fabulous practical experience of an entrepreneurial experience, I mean, to the student, because they will understand that what is it to be on the ground to talk to a farmer and convince a particular farmer. And after that, so then they will know that, I mean, how much of, you know, knowledge basis farmers has is how backward they are, and what are the wrong things that they are doing out there. So to correct these things out there, everything is an opportunity. So even if you're talking about, let us say, I mean, a farmer in one district out there, and let's say there are going to be some, let's say 1 lakh farmers, I mean, in this particular district. And if you're talking about, let us say, offering a certain service, for example, let's say, I mean, in terms of, I mean, an advisory service, I mean, based on your knowledge, or you're linking up, I mean, with certain products out there, and you want to take that particular products to them, that itself is a business opportunity. And which can, you know, the income, I mean, from that, I mean, is going to be huge. I mean, something, I mean, which you not even be able to kind of imagine, saying that, okay, I can earn this one, I mean, from a job, I mean, in an organization. To that extent, I mean, the opportunities are there, but they need to be on the field first. So they need to know that, I mean, what the difficulties are. So that is where, I mean, this part of it, I mean, which we are trying to bring in. So if there is an opportunity where, I mean, the students are willing to go on the field, and if they want to do some kind, gain an entrepreneurial experience, I mean, with the paid, you know, internship part of it, we are starting something from February. And, you know, you can tell us, I mean, if you're interested, I mean, we can definitely, I mean, if the students are interested, we can willing to take them and take them through for this microbial test.
Sure, I think we can explore this as well.
Sure.
There is one more question. Sir, I would like to know more on hydroponics. Can you recommend any book or paperworks that are available?
Hydroponics, I think, internet, I mean, is the big thing out there where every information from YouTube, I mean, on to everything is there. And the best way, I mean, for you to learn hydroponics, always remember is that if you all have a space, I mean, of, let us say, 1 feet by 1 feet in your house, that is more than sufficient. The best way to learn hydroponics is do a small experiment in your house using hydroponics. It will hardly cost you not more than 500 rupees. Every material is there in the market. You can see the internet. You can see that, I mean, so many, I mean, innovative ideas of, I mean, developing with waste products at your home itself, I mean, is available. A small tub and a small, whatever is available at your home with small pipes, and you can set that one. Enough knowledge. What you do, read it from your internet, try it on this particular system, make mistakes, correct it, learn it from there. You'll automatically see that it's fun actually, and you will love it, and it will be definitely productive. And that is the apart from that, there is no other best way of learning hydroponics. You need to try that out by yourself.
There's one more question.
Yes.
I have a doubt regarding setting up hydroponic based garden at house of beneficial plants.
So what is the beneficial plants? If they can
I
tell
don't
me.
know. Jay Santosh Krishna, if you're around, unmute and ask.
You can ask me what is the beneficial plants, and I can tell you what is it.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
I'm Jay Santosh Krishnan,
Yeah.
student here. My doubt is just generally, sir, regarding how can I set up the hydroponic-based plant garden of plants like general vegetables and general medicinal plants like tulsi, pudina, like that. Like,
Okay.
would it be possible to make it grow in the hydroponic system?
Very much. Every crop can be grown in hydroponics. In fact, I have grown tulsi. I have grown holy basil. I've also grown the American sweet basil. I've also grown the Italian basil in hydroponics. I mean, it comes fabulously well. And I mean, it only takes you, I mean, something like around 20 days, I mean, for you to actually grow this particular bit. So here, I mean, when you're talking about, I mean, any of this particular crops, I mean, whether it is going to be tomatoes or anything that grows, I mean, in your environment, because now what happens is that you can grow anything anywhere. But now I can grow something, I mean, something that grows only in a cooler location in Coimbatore. I can also grow something like what grows in a warmer location in Ooty. I can do that one. But now the only thing is that I need to create that environment, I mean, based on that. So here, ideally, what you should be doing is that you should not worry about the climate control part of it. Look into the crops that are all growing there, I mean, in your Coimbatore region. Now, those crops can definitely grow, I mean, in that particular, without any climate control, that can grow very well, I mean, in terms of your hydroponics part of it. So tulsi, or if you're talking about, I mean, tomatoes, I mean, or cucumbers, I mean, or capsicums, I mean, or onions, you're talking about bitter gourds or any of this particular thing that happens in a warmer location, these things can comfortably be grown, I mean, in an hydroponic environment. And you need to only see that, I mean, which one, I mean, is suitable, which system is suitable, whether an NFT system is suitable, or whether, I mean, as a coir based system is suitable. So normally what we recommend is that in general, when you're doing a short term crop, which is something like around 20 to 30 days kind of a crop, you can use water as the medium, as an NFT kind of a system. But when you're doing anything longer than that, like tomatoes, which might go in for, let's say, 3 or 4 months, or if you're talking about something like onions, I mean, it might go in for 90 days, then, I mean, ideally, I mean, what you should do is that you need to use coco peat as going to be the kind of a base. So for different crops, the longer the crop, I mean, you create, I mean, different mediums for that, I mean, you go for that. But it can definitely be grown on.
Okay, sir. That was really good advice. What should I do if I have to learn about it from scratch?
Go to the internet, pull out the information, I mean, from there. And after that, I mean, buy your seedlings and your substrates and all those things, because all the substrates and all today are available in small quantities also. And with whatever, I mean, available thing that is there in the household, I mean, you can use those, waste buckets or waste tubs and, used items also. I mean, you can create all those things. I mean, and that is the best way, as I told you. I mean, in hydroponics, the best way is that learning from scratch is that do it by yourself. Internet is the best medium. YouTube videos are there, how they will show you how to do that one. You have enough literature to any extent, starting from basic knowledge, to the most advanced knowledge, everything is there. Only thing is that you should find the time to go through that. So you start it and you do it. Start it, do it. Reading alone is not going to help us. You should also immediately, whatever you're reading, you try to, immediately create it and use it there.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sir, mic on panunga. Sir, Madan sir.
There is one last question. In the
Yes.
near future, is there any possibility to market your mobile app to public use for free or on subscription basis?
Yeah, we have definite possibilities, on that one. So if somebody is interested, on that one, they can always, keep in touch with us. Not an issue at all. Because right at the moment, it's not, the app is free, of course. The testing is what, when they do that, they charge for the test. And the app is, otherwise, freely available to download and take it forward. But you download it, but you should have a basis for what this is going to be used. So that's where this aspect of the testing cost comes into the picture. There is no cost for downloading the app.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And yes, sir. And as a final question, so you people are providing any short-term training regarding hydroponics? Like students, UG level,
I
PG level.
will tell you something. Now here, I am completely involved. Right at the moment, with Krishi Tantra. So, and moreover, so as a part of, our, organization, and now it's a kind of a larger organization, larger startup. And we have a lot of policies, that doesn't allow us, to take up the other things. The farmcraft part of it was my own. And right at the moment, it's I will actually, do this one more in terms of, let us say, out of my own interest. For your college, if it is required, then we can always, work it out and let me know. Then I can do it as more in terms of as a free, without expecting any honorarium, or monetary benefits. I can do it for you. So if you're interested, let us know about it. We can have a 1 or 2 day workshop where I can completely give a thorough thing to you on that.
Sure, we will plan that, Mr. Anand. We'll do that.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable questions, answers, everything. So any more questions from participants, students, or any faculty members? So please, any one questions? Or if anybody want to contact him or more like need more any answer or suggestions, so we will provide the contact number or email ID. So anytime you approach them. And so now we posted the feedback link. So participants, please fill this and submit it. And now thank you very much, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. S. Selvi ma'am, Department of Physics, for proposing the vote of thanks.
Thank
Madam,
you, sir.
please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, very good evening to everyone over here. It's my privilege and great honor to propose vote of thanks on this wonderful session. Let me, first of all, thank Almighty of God for making this today's session as a successful one. I would like to thank our President, Dr. M. R. Chami, sir, our beloved Secretary and Director, Dr. C. A. Vasagi, Madam, for giving opportunity to organize this wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am. I express our sincere gratitude to our Principal, Dr. M. Lakshmanaswamy, for his support and guidance for executing this program as a successful one. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Dean R&D, Dr. Paul Swami, CEO, and Dean Academics, also the President of IIC, Institution Innovation Council, Dr. Madan Sankar, for their encouragement and support. Thank you, sir. On behalf of our entire college and IIC, I would like to thank our Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Anand Bellan Raman, Managing Partner, Farmcraft, Kunnur, and co-founder Krishyamtra, Hyderabad, for this interesting, informative, and motivational talk on successful entrepreneur startup funder. Thank you, sir. Once again, I thank for your valuable, inspirational thoughts, enlightening us with knowledge towards success. I hope our students will follow your 3 steps to become a successful entrepreneur. I extend my gratitude to the convener of IIC, Dr. Dandabani, Assistant Professor of Botany, coordinators and members of IIC for taking the effort to organize this wonderful session. Thank you, sirs. I would like to thank all the teaching staffs for their support and contribution. Last but not least, I thank all the participants for making this session as a great success. Thank you. Once again, I thank one and all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam. So, thank you all.